Angry Bears Fan Podcast, episode 59. Like, follow, subscribe, please, and thank you. Comment. The Reels have been doing pretty good with all the Caleb and Justin nonsense. Steve McMichael's out of the hospital. He did not pass away. That's good news. I thought it was. We're definitely hoping he gets to, receive his Hall of Fame stuff and live to experience that. But a couple important interviews. Shane Waldron finally talked to the media. Eric Washington went into some extensive talks. Eberflus talked a little bit more. Obviously, the big one, Justin went on the St. Brown's podcast, cleared the air, and made it known that he did unfollow the Bears. Quite interesting. He said he did it because he was on vacation. He said he unfollowed the NFL as well. He made it known that, as any of us would assume, that the debate was getting to him as well. I can only imagine. Um, but he also said just because you're not following a girl on Instagram doesn't mean you're not hollering at her. So um, it was interesting. It was another display of why I think the Chicago fan base loves Justin Fields. He's very personable when he does get in front of the microphone. He said a lot of the right things. He's made it clear that he wanted to be in Chicago, but honestly, after everything the dust is settled, it makes me just seem like the writing is on the wall. He knows, we know. Well, him not knowing to me just makes it seem like uh, that's the answer. I mean, if they were going to stick with him, Shane Waldron would have gave him the playbook and said, "Hey, you're our guy, and fucking get to studying." And it doesn't seem like, based on Shane Waldron or Justin Fields' interview, that has happened yet.
Yeah, they said something about coaches not having contact with players in terms of playbook and stuff like that for until the new league year anyway. So that I mean, he's exchanged text messages with Justin Fields. That he said that, and his introductory press conference and everything else like that. But right now is the time of year where you take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, I understand why Justin did unfollow if if those were the reasons why he did unfollow the Bears in the NFL and everything else like that. But at the same time, you can mute those notifications or just delete the app until, you know, you get back from vacation or whatever. Because while he did unfollow the Bears and he unfollowed the NFL, he apparently started following Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts.
I don't think he
So
just started following those guys. I don't think he can tell you when. I'm
he
I'm
did.
I'm I'm almost positive he's always followed Pitts. Him and Pitts are friends. Like I know that they're friends from like high school. So I don't know if he just maybe he did. I don't know. But the other guys I don't know about personal, but I know for a fact that Pitts and Justin Fields have known each other since high school. So I would highly doubt he just followed him right now. Maybe the other
I'm
guys I don't know.
pretty sure the other two he just
Maybe the
started.
other two, I don't know. And maybe even Pitts. It doesn't. There's no like timestamp when you followed or unfollowed anyone. That's why there was mystery to all of this. Um, Justin didn't say exactly when he did it, but he did say did. It was. I do get why he did. There are times where I kind of delete social media. I don't just unfollow certain. I mean, I guess there's certain times I do unfollow certain shit, but honestly, nothing I ever plan on refollowing. Honestly, um, obviously he's different. Um, Shane Waldron was very ambiguous in what he was saying. There's a lot of double talk. Um, makes it. I'm guessing he's just not privy to what. I don't think anybody really knows what Ryan Poles is going to do. I think we have an idea that. I think it's just cliche, but it is the unless Washington offers something crazy or somebody else offers something crazy that they're taking Caleb, unless it's some generational offer. And I think Justin and everybody else is coming to grips with it. So we'll see, and hopefully he does well where he's going. Again, to be clear, I don't want that to be the case. It just seems like um, where there's smoke, there's fire, and I don't know. Caleb's camp's quiet, things like that, and unless he comes out at some point in the time and says, "Hey, I don't want to be a Bear," I think that doesn't bode well. And some people even say it doesn't matter if Caleb didn't want to be a Bear or not; that it's which quarterback they're going to take, not Justin or Caleb. Um, I don't necessarily that far. I know you're a fan of Drake May. Others, I mean, like some of the other quarterbacks. I personally think it's Justin or Caleb, but I guess we'll see how that plays out. I think a lot of these guys are good and may fit our scheme. Salary cap went up, so it'll be
Yep.
nice to have a controlled rookie contract where we can really get after a bunch of free agents. But again, like I've went on many tangents before, I don't necessarily think trying to play the salary cap and play money ball in the NFL is works as well as it might in other sports.
Yeah, I mean the salary cap going up, it's a big help. A lot of the mid players kind of get helped out with that. You know what I'm saying? Because the top end guys are going to get their money regardless. So the lower end and the mid guys, they'll probably get overpaid a little bit now that the salary cap's gone up. I think it was up like $30
A
million over
lot, yeah.
previous
It
projections.
basically secures that all the guys who were gonna might get franchise tag are about to get paid.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean that's what you would assume, at
like
least hoping
Jaylon
wise. I
Johnson's a
know.
lock now. What does he want? 20? I'm sure he's locked for between 20 and 25 now. They just got the free money.
Well, the tag is 18 for him because they released the tag numbers for all positions. Um, and I think his tag number is 18.6. There's a couple of other things that just have to be hashed out and everything else like that. I would assume that Jaylon Johnson's going to get paid. Uh, Realistically, you'd have to break down the deal. You'd have to. I'm assuming it's going to be guaranteed money is where the issue is with them. I think AAV, the Bears and Jaylon Johnson's camp are close. I think it's always the guarantees that always get held up with these contract negotiations. Um, I don't know how deep the corner class is. I haven't really dive deep into the cornerback class for these prospects coming up this year. I'm not entirely positive on the depth of the corner position in free agency either. I know Jaylon Johnson's at the top of that list in terms of cream of the crop, so you would assume that they're going to pay him.
Yeah, he's definitely
So,
getting paid.
yeah,
Especially with
you
us
would.
getting 30 more mil, I just don't envision a world where he's not going to get paid. There's no reason not to. I mean, for sure he's getting tagged. So I'm not a big fan of the tag. I don't want guys out there who don't want to be there.
Well,
So
now they've also got options in free agency for a center, so you might not even need to spend draft capital on a center unless you want to back up, and you can probably still do that in the second or third round if you really want to, because Mason Cole just got released by Pittsburgh. He's okay.
I
You
like
got
basic
Lloyd
Cole.
Cushenberry or whatever his name is that is going to be hitting free agency. Connor Williams coming off an ACL from Miami. He's the number one center in terms of free agency this year so far. I wouldn't mind any of them. I think Connor Williams, even coming off the ACL, is probably going to command somewhere from $8 to $10 million if he's at the top of the market for centers. Probably get Cushberry for, I'd say probably around 7 to 9. He's just a tier below Connor. So Connor Williams would be the first person to sign, is my guess, and then Cushberry will just determine his market value from there. But Connor Williams would be at the top of my list if I was the Bears, if I wanted to go after center free agency.
Have to get a
You just
center.
don't know without a second round pick right now, which is why a lot of people are kind of saying that it's important for Ryan Poles to figure out sooner or later what he's going to do with Justin. Are you going to have the you know are you going to have the draft capital to draft somebody in the second, third round? Are you going to, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to know what your draft capital is looking like going into the draft in order to evaluate the talent that's there properly. You could always go just cover, blanket coverage and cover everybody. But if you know where you're picking, you kind of have an idea of which prospects you're going to be looking at. So the sooner the better in terms of making a decision, trading Justin or trading the pick.
They say
Last
it's
year,
going to happen this week, or at least
yeah, that
it'll leak out. Like it will obviously won't be can't be done until the new year starts. Where they say that the destination will be picked, the compensation will be discussed over these weeks. So I'm hoping, like I kind of feel like Justin. I just wanted to be over with. I'm a big fan of Justin. I don't think there'll be. I think there will be a drop off, switching off. I understand why they want to switch or whatever, but I do think it needs to be done sooner rather than later because I personally think the closer we get to the draft, the less likely we're going to get any capital in this draft because the teams are going to be like, you know what, I'll just wait. You know what I mean? If I'm not going to give my second round pick up for Justin because I kind of like Bo Nix or I kind of like JJ McCarthy, and I'm at least going to wait and see till draft time. Maybe they'll do it the day of the draft, but wait to see if JJ McCarthy falls to 21 or 22, and I'll move up and get him instead of trading for Justin. Or if Bo Nix falls to the second round, maybe I'll get him. So I think this is about the last week or two they have to get something for Justin prior to the draft, before teams interview all the quarterbacks, watch their pro days, and do all those things, and then at least, you know what I mean, fall in love with one of these guys, and then they'll say like, "Oh well, I will wait to make a decision on quarterback until after the draft now because we might play our odds and hope one of these guys falls to us."
Yeah, I mean, last year at the combine is where Brian Poles kind of had the trade with Carolina in place. There was just
When was it? It
completely
was
nothing to cash
yeah, it
out.
was March 10th, I think.
Yeah, but at the combine itself, they kind of had an idea of
Yeah,
where they were going in
yeah.
terms of the trade. And I think that should, it'll happen again this year, whether it be Justin or trading the pick, which it's looking more and more like they're going to be trading Justin. And it really just all depends on what you know, where they want to go in terms of direction. Like you said, maybe they don't get a lot of draft capital this year, in this year's draft. Maybe it's, next year's, whatever the case may be. But you have options. I've read a couple of different things where like Atlanta, you trade Justin in the 9 to Atlanta for pick 8 and 42. Um, and then there was one for like New England where it's like you trade them 9 and Justin Fields and you get 3. There's different maneuverability that you can do if you're Ryan Poles. I'm sure if they're gonna go up, I would obviously say
I don't think
New
they're going
England
up.
would probably would be the case because if you're just trading Justin and 9 for 3, which I don't know, I don't think New England would go for, but if that trade turns out to be true and you end up getting Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., that's a slam dunk home run.
Yeah, I guess I don't really
That's a
envision
grand
that.
slam.
But yeah, I don't see them moving up. I think
I don't either, but
Ryan
it's
Poles
just
is a move back type of guy.
no, it's been speculated. That's the only reason why I brought it up. It's some trade ideas that are floating around just for
Yeah,
some
yeah,
ESPN
I've seen a few of them.
and stuff like that. Stuff that it makes sense, but you don't know it with a trade partner. You obviously need that secondary team, so you can
Yeah,
only guess if somebody would do
that's
something.
why
I
I've
you
been
don't
intrigued about the
know.
Justice thing. Are there no suitors, or is he really not shopping? Because a lot of stuff isn't leaked out. I've done a little bit of research, and some of these quarterback trades, like they can't be finalized to the league years gone, but a lot of like the Goff Stafford deal was done in like January. Like a lot of these deals are usually done and over with, and we're just waiting for the new year. And but like nothing's really leaked out, nothing concrete. Like the Bears have been talking to the Steelers, the Bears have been talking to the Falcons. Like some sound bites from the Falcons GM saying that they regret passing on Justin, I think, or something like that.
Well, you got to
I don't
remember,
know if
who works in Atlanta's front office, right?
oh,
Ryan Pace.
oh I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But so again, maybe again, I just nothing really has leaked out about where Justin is going to fall. So maybe Ryan Poles really is holding true to his word that he's not making any kind of decision until he talks to Caleb and Drake and all those guys in the combine, gets a vibe for him. I just really no info is leaked out. It's all speculation. And usually at this point, when we thinking a trade's going to happen in a week, we've already kind of heard the groundwork, like, oh, Poles and the Steelers have been talking, and the deal's basically done. They just working figuring on compensation. So maybe he is holding true to his word. He can wait. Like I said, Shane Waldron didn't seem like he was privy to anything. We all saw the Kevin Warren interview. It didn't seem like they had any kind of actual plan. Because I don't. If they had a plan to trade Justin and move Caleb, I don't know if he would have just said that all that stuff. Like, I mean, obviously he's going to be nice, but it just seemed like there was no plan there. I think Poles has not decided truly, but I do think it's um as the time approaches, the decision seems pretty clear on their end. Again, not necessarily for me, but my job isn't on the line and other, you know what I mean, things like that. So I do understand how it might be different if you were as a fan as it pertains to the guy who's going to get fired if the quarterback doesn't do well. Um, but like I said, it's been very close to the vest. Nothing of any value. Caleb's camp's been really quiet. Nothing's really came out since the Colin Cowherd thing at all, except for he doesn't have an agent. Um, that might be scary for some GMs. The Lamar Jackson thing didn't go very well. So I don't know if teams are really looking forward to having to negotiate with Caleb and his dad. And you know what I mean? Because like I said, it didn't go very well for Lamar Jackson. Um, and that would be a concern. If you think Caleb's a generational guy, then you're basically saying that we're going to be resigning him to a $500 million deal here in 2 years, 3 years. So that might be something that's on your mind. I personally, like I've been saying, I really want to hear from Caleb, just to say, hey, I would, you know what I mean, him out of his mouth say, hey, I want to go play wherever. I don't have any diva in me. I don't necessarily. I don't. I'm not. All this shit's bullshit.
Well,
But again, maybe he's a quiet kid. I don't. Again, I just. Um, that's what again. Though, to go back to Justin, I think he did the same. Like he had no reason to do the St. Brown interview. I think he did it because um a lot of people wanted to hear from him, and I think he finally was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go make what how I feel and get on the record so people can stop speculating on what it is I might be thinking or what I want to do.
well, we won't be speculating too much longer. You brought up, the combine and the trade and the works and everything else. Like the combine starts here pretty soon.
Yeah, Monday.
And the free agency, the legal tampering period starts in a couple of weeks, and then free agency itself starts in 19 days. So we're less than 3 weeks from getting some real answers here.
Yes.
Justin will definitely be traded before free agency.
Yes,
What
I
what,
think
what
so.
was my prediction? Wasn't it March? Didn't I say? Oh fuck, dude, I forgot my own prediction of when.
No, I think you said a
I
week
said,
before the draft.
did I say a week before the
The week
draft?
before the draft, yeah. I don't think it'll
Um,
be that
it
long. I
won't be
don't
that
think
long. No, it won't be that
um yeah, I definitely don't think
long.
it'll be that
I'm
long. I
definitely
think we'll
wrong on
kind of have our answer in the next 2 weeks. I would say week by the end of the combine because they're not going to be able to, if they are talking, if they've got some real talks to a team to get Justin, I don't think they're going to be able to hide it any longer. And like I said, if we're going to get a second round pick for Justin, I think it has to be now because the closer we get to the draft, teams are like, I'll give you a next pick. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be like, I want to draft now. And you've already made your hand clear that you don't want Justin, so they have no leverage. And the closer, I think, the closer we get to the draft, the we lose a lot of leverage and Justin's value.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. What sucks too is that with the trade in place and everything else like that, it with free agency it'll definitely tip their hand in terms of what direction they're going to go in the draft as well. Because obviously, I mean, we both think that Justin's getting traded before free agency starts anyway. So, I mean, regardless, that quarterback question will be answered, within the next couple of weeks as it is. But with their draft strategy, so I talked about free agent centers. If they go out and they sign a high price free agent center, they're not going to worry about recouping and trying to get draft a center in the second or third round or whatever the case may be. I think they go after edge. Are they going to sign a safety in free agency? Or are they going to draft one? I'm leaning more towards they're going to draft a safety. They're going to draft a replacement for Eddie Jackson, and they're just going to go. I think that the two biggest, needs for them in terms of free agency, the first two signings that you'll see will be a free agent center and an edge, whether it be Daniil Hunter or Bryce Huff or whoever the case may be. They'll
Khalil Mack.
you'll see a center and an edge rusher signs the first two contract signings the Bears make free agency. I think that's what'll happen with that. You might see a low tier wide receiver three signed. I don't think they go after one of the big names like T. Higgins or
Mike
Mike
Evans.
Evans or
Yeah.
anything like that. I think they're pretty dead set on, possibly getting one of the three at pick 9 if they stay at 9. Between Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, or if they can somehow trade up to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. But a lot of information in the next 3 weeks. It's gonna be full go up until the draft. I mean, normally free agency, the first week of free agency is normally a frenzy, and then it slows down for a little bit and it kind
Oh
of
yeah.
dies down until draft time. But we'll get a lot of information. We'll start to see how this roster fills
Well, I
out.
don't. I
I
don't think
have
free agency will be too crazy just because of the salary cap increase. I think a lot of the big names are for sure going to get signed.
Well,
Like,
let me ask you this question: with the salary cap increase, would you feel a little bit more comfortable giving a little bit more money to the running back position, like Saquon Barkley, or
well, like I
um,
said, I was a fan of Saquon. I think we should go out and get Saquon. I mean, I said I would rather pair him with Justin, but no matter our quarterback, I think we need to go out and get some explosiveness at running back. Khalil Herbert is decent, but he's really a running back too. He's more like he's just not a game changer. We need a game changer out there, especially if we're
Well,
gonna
that's
have
what
a
I'm saying with that salary cap increase. I
yeah.
mean, a lot of people were, putting the number at Saquon at somewhere around 14 million with a $30 million increase in salary cap. I have no problem paying him $14 million.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's a good person to go after. I don't. This isn't a very running back heavy draft either, with a lot of good guys. Um, and I do think
Well,
that's a position of
if
need
you
for
think
us.
about it, if they end up signing Josh Jacobs, that Khalil Mack trade is going to come full circle. I mean, how many times in the history of the NFL has that ever really happened? Where one of the picks that you trade for a player, you end up signing a free agency anyway 5 years later.
I mean, I hope we go after Khalil Mack. I was just looking at the salary cap. Even after this increase, the Chargers are still like 12 million in the
Oh, they're
hole, or
screwed.
some 22 million in the hole. I don't think they're screwed. I think that just means they would have got to get rid of Bosa. Like this is one
That
guy.
them and New Orleans have horrible cap
Yeah.
situations, but New Orleans already make a move. Mickey Loomis, I don't know how he does it. He pulls a rabbit out of his ass every single year. He just keeps kicking the can down the road a little bit.
Well, that's why
But
sometimes too when people are talking about salary cap, I'll say it's kind of fugazi because they make it work what they need to work. So they go find somebody who will restructure. They'll go figure something out, make a bad
well,
deal.
did you hear too? This is kind of on the Justin Fields thing again. I know we kind of moved off that a little bit, but apparently, according to at least one reputable NFL insider for ESPN, they were saying that there is genuine interest from the Raiders for Justin
Yeah, I
Fields.
saw that the Raiders. I don't see why. Like again, we're not going to go all about Justin. I don't really see why not, and that's why it confuses me that we haven't heard any real stories about teams trading for Justin. Is it because this is such a I think it's really because it's such a quarterback heavy draft that these guys are like, why would I trade for Justin right now when I can wait because the Bears will have to trade him to me after the draft. Um, so yeah, that's where I do think the Raiders would be smart to kick the tires on Justin Fields because the obvious, no matter what you want to say about Luke Getsy and Justin Fields and the play calling, they do have a rapport. They
Well,
were
then
getting
they
better
could
each
always
year.
pick a quarterback still and sit him behind Justin for 2 years because you're only going to pick up he's 6 million against the cap this year, this upcoming year, and then 25 next year. So realistically, you could if you're the Raiders and you trade a second round field or 2 seconds for Justin Fields, you still have pick 11 or 13 or whatever it is. You could still trade for Justin Fields, draft a quarterback, sit that quarterback behind Justin for 2 years, and then decide whether or not you're gonna re-sign Justin or move on. So, like you said, I mean, the familiarity is there with Luke Getsy. He won't have to go through another new offensive coordinator.
And
It
and
would just
we talked about this before. You brought it up to it. Like Luke Getsy was a first time coach, so if we want to use the first time and Justin Fields being young excuse, you kind of got to give Getsy that grace as well. So maybe he learns from some of his, or he evolves and knows like in certain situations I need to call this, or you know what I mean, or this, and maybe it'll be proof for both of them.
well, yeah,
Um,
because it's just not very common where you have a guy like Luke Getsy, first time play caller like that, scrutinized in the city that he was in, get fired and then rehired within a month
I
in
don't know if
in the
that's
same
true.
position. In the same position,
I don't know about in the same position.
Eric
Yeah,
Bieniemy just took a job as an offensive coordinator in college because he couldn't get a job in the NFL.
yeah, but that's he's
Like
been not being able to get a job in the NFL.
that's nuts. Not even as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, which
Well, I
is
mean,
crazy.
I'm assuming I mean, he was the OC and fucking on the Commander, so he probably like that already tells you that nobody else fucking wanted him in the first place. So that's
But Sam Howell still had
no, I'm not
a
saying Sam Howell did bad. I'm saying like he ended up like the Washington job is bad job. Like nobody wants that job. Like so if you end up being the OC there with his resume, it just means that nobody else really wants him. And like I said, I don't know exactly why that is. I have never figured that out. Again, it's hard to say it's a race thing when Antonio Pierce and some of these other and D'Amico Ryans and Gerard Mayo just all got jobs and they're young ex players who have only been coaching for, you know what I mean, 5 to 10 years. Um, so now a lot of those race thing, I don't know what it is, but he doesn't get hired. But a lot, I mean, I think a lot of times guys get fired and get rehired. Maybe not at the same exact position, but a similar thing. I think the
And
enemies are.
definitely not at the same level. I mean, there's a little demotion, like, oh, I'm going to be the passing game coordinator instead of the
But I don't
offensive
know. Like
coordinator.
Vic Fangio gets fired and he's a DC that same next year. He don't go down to linebacker coach. Like,
Vic Fangio is
well, I'm
a
just saying
little
Vic Fangio and
that's
a lot of other guys. Like, not just Vic. I'm just saying there's other guys like him. That was just the one that popped in my head because he used to coach for us. But there's a few guys who get fired their one spot and just go be the same thing over again. Um, and I
but he
and like I said with Getsy, I think Getsy got lucky that Kingsbury blew them off at the last minute, and they kind of were like, "All right, who is our second best interview? Let's get him in here because we don't want to wait." You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily think they were like they're jumping for joy. They ended up with Getsy. Oh, but I'm still holding out a little hope that I think Washington still might make a crazy offer,
I don't think so.
or the Raiders. I think somebody might. So I think that's why we haven't really heard any really serious rumors about Justin going anywhere, or polls and some teams having a deal in place because I do think Poles is waiting as well. At least he wants to hear them. I think he wants to hear the offers. Once he gets rid of Justin, the phone's never going to ring again.
Well, and this is just before we take, I'm just going to say this right now. I know a lot of people are saying it's either Caleb or Justin, and I get that. I want to see what Caleb's measurables are at the combine. I want to see what he comes in at in terms of, actual height, weight, hand size, stuff like that. Because realistically, I know a lot of people keep saying it's either going to be Caleb or Justin. But if they trade with Washington, I still firmly believe there will be a new quarterback next year. I do not think they're keeping Justin, even if they have the number 2 overall pick. I just don't see it happening. That's just my opinion.
No, I
Uh,
mean, I don't know. That kind of contradict things you've said in the past, where it's like if you know that's your guy, you go and get him at one and don't
I
risk it.
know,
So
I
it's like
know. Well, I'm just
if
saying.
you
In
think
my,
Drake May's better than Caleb Williams, why would you fall back one spot and take him? Like,
I agree. I'm just saying that if that were the case, I'm saying if Ryan Poles does make the trade, I don't necessarily think because he knows how desperate Washington would be to
yeah.
get Caleb Williams. I just don't
I don't
think
know.
that
I
would be
just
a
think you're
done deal.
sitting on like you're the hot seat he would be on if he did that would be ridiculous.
Well, I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, I
I
agree
wouldn't do it,
there. I've
but
heard some rum, but I don't I really just don't see that. Obviously it's a possibility because a lot of these guys are good, and I've even said I think Caleb's going to measure bad. I think he's not that big. He's not, and Drake May's a big guy. He's also going to. I'm guessing he's going to throw at the combine, so that'll get him some brownie points with people like that. They'll be like his zip on the ball will be fresh in their mind. But I don't think Poles has got the balls. I don't think any. I don't not just Poles, but I don't think any GM in this situation would do that because that would just put a crazy amount of pressure on Drake May, Poles, and like I said, Eberflus is already on the hot seat. He's fired if they don't make the playoffs. Um, and Poles is like in trouble if you trade Justin, pass on Caleb, and draft the second best quarter, pass on the generational, wink, wink, air quotes, Caleb Williams, and then take the second best quarterback in the draft, and he's not Justin Herbert right away. And
yeah,
we'll see. Like I said, Caleb to me, unbiased, is taken out of for if I'm Ryan Poles, obviously that's just the safest choice for him. His job's secure for another year or two, just like super secure, where they won't even think about doing anything to him. Justin, your job's on the line the next season. Everybody's job. I mean,
absolutely.
everybody, the whole staff, Eberflus, Waldron, everybody's job will be on the line the next season, and that's a tough way to work. So you really have to love Justin and to do that because, like I said, Eberflus is out of there. Waldron, like what your OC's not staying. Eric Washington, none of you guys are saying if Eberflus and Poles gets fired. So that's why I think they'll take Caleb, not because I think he's better or anything like that. I just think for the organization, everybody in the next season, even though I think they won't make the playoffs and Eberflus will probably get fired and Waldron, Poles might get to keep his job because at the end of the day, it wasn't really the guy he wanted. if in a few weeks we find out Harbaugh wasn't an actual option, there wasn't really any crazy coaches to go out and get. Like Ben Johnson seemed to stay where he wanted to stay. So did the dude in Houston. Um, I don't think anybody wants Belichick in Chicago.
No.
And like I said, if Harbaugh wasn't actually a viable option, like he really had his mind already made up, then he really had no choice but to keep Eberflus. Um, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like Justin, I'm tired of it as well. I would like it to be over because I would like to focus on what our team's going to be doing next year and the moves that we need to make instead of um, who's going to be our quarterback.
We'll know within the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
Combine starts on Monday. Free agency starts in 19 days. I'm ready.
Yeah, I am too. And like I said, I hope Justin gets his answer. I think he's done and said all the right things. His play has been, and I'll say, as I've said, I will say underwhelming and mediocre for the most part. Extrapolated out to the whole season, obviously there's been the highs. The lows are there too, though, and as most of the city wants him to stay, I think most of really everybody. I think for the most, a small percentage of the fan base really want to see him gone. Others just want to play it smart and don't want to pass on Caleb. Um, but we haven't had a guy like him in a long time. We've had quarterbacks, first round guys, but nobody with the talent. You know what I mean? Mike Vick, I guess, is his best comparison right now. We didn't think that when we were drafting him, but right now his best comparisons are Mike Vick. The talent's there, the explosiveness there, but for whatever reason, he can't put it together. And maybe he needs an Andy Reid or a new change of scenery or a new offense to make him to put his ability on display, but it just doesn't look like it's going to be here as much as I would like it to be, because people's jobs are on the line, and his really isn't. I think he'll land on his feet, get a fresh start, which will probably be good for him. Be it a fan base back to the point of his career where the fan base is grateful to have him there. I think like the Steelers or the Falcons, things like that, will be happy to have him there for a year or two before they harp on him if he doesn't take the next step. But I guess mental health wise, it's probably best to be somewhere where there aren't these questions. And the full circle from the beginning, I might not agree of why he unfollowed or whatever, but I definitely understand being Justin Fields and picking up my phone, flicking open social media, and it's a picture of you and Caleb, and them being like, and it's really like the extremes where people are just trashing him too. Like this is why some kid who's never been in the NFL is better than this guy who's been. You know what I mean? Like I would assume that would be really annoying to see on a daily basis. That like
Probably.
everyone's like, hey, this kid who you were better than in college and who's never played in the NFL is gonna be better than you, and your team should kick you to the curb and get him. And your team is the one who's posting it. Like so, yeah. Not too much. That, like I said, just more speculation and things like that. Next week we should probably have better show with some more answers. Probably an idea where Justin's going to go. I'm guessing, like I've been saying, Pittsburgh. I think maybe Atlanta is one of them. I don't think we'll be able to make a move for pick 8 though. I don't think they'll be giving up 8 for Justin if it's known to the world that the Bears are taking Caleb. Like the Bears fans who want to see Justin go can't live in that reality where like if Justin's worth the 8th overall pick, then we might should be keeping him. And like obviously
No,
nobody wants to give
I think
like
it's more like I said, like a pick swap, and we get their second round pick. Move up one spot to 8 and get 43 or whatever their second round pick is, and give them Justin Fields and pick 9. I I,
that
I
might
think
work.
that's more realistically what we would be looking at if we're looking at an Atlanta trade, because they're only moving down one spot essentially for a quarterback and a second round pick, and the price to move down one, to move up one spot, we learned last year from the Bears was a fourth rounder the next year because they got Philly's fourth rounder, and we only moved up, or moved down from 9 to 10, where we took Darnell Wright. So really, if you break down that trade, you're looking at a second and a fourth round pick for Justin Fields. And if you're Atlanta and you want Justin, that's not a bad price.
We're all right. We'll do a quick one this week. But next week hopefully we'll have some answers and put this Justin Caleb debate finally to bed, and we can move on to doing our fake mock drafts and uh free agency guesses. But all right, like,
Don't
follow,
forget to
subscribe,
comment.
please. Yes, comment. You guys have been doing
Comment.
very well. And I will see you next week, buddy. Where's my mouse?
I'll see you next week.
Adios.